G'day, this is Matt and the next episode in the Apprentice Toolbox. Today I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of tools from the same place, the same person. The person's name is Eugene Peterson. Now, you may not have heard his name, but I bet you bumped into the Bible he authored. It's called The Message, and it was one of the most popular translations of the last 15 years, and I use that word translation specifically. A lot of people talk about the Message being a paraphrase, and it's not, because Peterson actually went back to the original Greek and the original Hebrew and then tried to work out how do I best communicate the intent of that in modern vernacular in a way that would make sense. And he did that actually as a pastoral exercise. He, for most of his life, was a pastor, and he was trying to work out how do I help my people understand the heart of the Bible. And so he produced The Message, and this is one of my Message Bibles. This is probably the one I've usually used the least. The ones I've used the most are these two. Both of these are parallel Bibles. This one is the TNIV and the Message together, and you can see it's been well used. And this one's even used more, and this is just the NIV and the Message. Because sometimes when you're reading the Message, it is true that Peterson gets a lot of the heart, but he doesn't quite get all of the depth of what the Bible's saying. So having a side-by-side translation was very important for me, and I think the Message came for me at a really important time, a time where I was so used to reading the Bible in the NIV, actually, that I needed a fresh way of engaging with the Word of God, and many of the turns of phrase that Peterson uses somehow got to my heart in a really helpful way. Bono became friends. Bono from U2, that is, became friends with Eugene Peterson, and reckons he's one of the greatest living poets because of the way he managed to communicate the heart of things like the Psalms or the Gospels. And there are phrases in the Message like the unforced rhythms of grace that continue to be with me and I think capture the heart of what the intent of that particular verse was talking about. And there are other phrases right throughout the Message that really do a great job of connecting. So I'd recommend, if you want to find a Bible that's very easy to read, and you don't mind too much about getting the full intent of the original Greek or whatever, I really do recommend the Message. Certainly was important for me. I also do recommend these parallel Bibles that are fairly common. We get the NIV or another translation and the Message side by side, because often it's a good way to engage. So the Message, of course, is Peterson's biggest seller, but really he became a mentor for me. And the first book of his that I read, I currently only have on my Kindle, which is on my iPad app of Kindle here. Christ Plays in 10,000 Places is this book. And it really became a book that helped me think in new ways about what it means to be a Christian and to be a follower of Jesus. Similarly, his books, The Jesus Way and Practice Resurrection, The Word Made Flesh, Eat This Book, all those books were part of a series he did about, he called it the Eugene Peterson Spiritual Theology, and they were all books that early on in my journey of, well before I went to a theology school or anything like that, it were books that helped me think in new ways. Now, they are a little intellectual, but if you're ready to engage with the heart of what it means to be a follower of Jesus, I really particularly recommend Christ Plays in 10,000 Places. There are a number of things in there that really stood out to me. One of the ways that Peterson talks about Sabbath is something I'll be talking about in the other video series we're doing, the Next Steps for the Church, because it was very helpful. He kind of reframed a whole lot of things. So in all those books, there's a bunch of other books that he's written. You'll see here I've got a collection online on my Kindle. There's a book called Working the Angles, about what it means to be a pastor. There's a book called 5 Smooth Stones for Pastoral Work. And what he actually does in that, interestingly enough, is engage with the books of the Megillah, the Hebrew wisdom books that were read and are still read at particular Hebrew feasts, including Ecclesiastes, which we're studying at the moment. There's a really helpful book about the spiritual disciplines called A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. There's another book called Run with the Horses, that is well worth reading. And his own autobiography, just called The Pastor, is fascinating, particularly for anybody who is thinking about pastoral ministry, just catching a bit of his heart and the way he clearly loves people and loves the Bible. One of my favourite YouTube videos is a meeting that Bono had with Eugene Peterson talking about the Psalms. And I'd really recommend you watch that. It was released a couple of years ago. And Bono and Eugene Peterson talking about the nature of the Psalms. So there you go, the Apprenticeship Toolbox. Normally I would focus on a book. But today I'm focusing on an author. And an author who, in a lot of ways, has been a real mentor for me, Eugene Peterson. And if you're going to start anywhere, as I said, I'd start with Christ Plays in 10,000 Places, or maybe A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. One of those two books are well worth checking out. But all of his stuff has been stuff that has had me thinking in new directions. And as I said, the Message continues to be an important translation of the Bible for me. And as you can see, as I flick through probably the Bible that I have used the most over many years, this Bible was, I now mostly are using NIV, but this Bible was very, very important to me for about a decade. So that translation. So until next time, that is the Apprentice Toolbox. Hope you're finding this series helpful.